everybody and welcome back to my channel. So I'm here today to do my February wrap up, and for this being the shortest month I feel really accomplished with the amount of reading that I have managed to do this month. I did actually read a few extra books on top of the books that were in my original TBR for this month, so I am very proud of myself, especially because this is the shortest month of the year and I've managed to read more than I expected to. We're going to start with the one disappointing thing of this month. So in my TBR video for this month, I did say that I wanted to read Stephen King Full Dark No Stars, which is a collection of short stories by him. However, I just could not, for the life of me, get into this book. So I ended up, I guess you guys would say that I DNF'd it because I chose not to read it. Really wasn't into this. I may give it a try sometime later on this year, but for now I'm just going to leave this on my bookshelf. However, if I don't reach for it or I try to reach for it again and I can't get into it, I will be passing it on. The next book that I read was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Yeah, I finished this off in my A-level at about halfway through this month, I would say, right before my break. Right before our half-term break, so we finished this in class and that's when I marked it as finished. I've read this book around 4 times because obviously I need to know it inside and out. It's an okay book. I think I gave it 2 stars. I'm not a huge classic fan, like I'm really not a big person when it comes to classics. I would much rather read the fantasy and other things. Next we have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I think that's how you say his surname. I could be butchering that, but I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I thought it was absolutely amazing. It just was so good. You get a dual perspective in this book, so you have one from like an obsessive psychiatrist pretty much, who is obsessed with finding out why this woman killed her husband, and especially when she had a seemingly perfect life and she shot him 6 times in the head and then went mute. The ending of this book, I think, is what pushed me to that 5-star because I did not see that coming. I didn't predict it coming. It was an amazing ending, and finding out what actually happened was really interesting as well. I was a bit nervous at first that the perspective of the woman's diary was going to overpower the perspective of the psychiatrist. However, it really didn't. I thought that both perspectives were equal. They were both just as interesting, and I think I read that right after my other 5-star read in here, which is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. A lot of people in their reviews were saying that this didn't have enough about vampires in it to be classified as a vampire book. However, the main character Celine, she was so amazing. Funny, she had a very difficult past, but also a past that we didn't know about, so we were learning about our character as other people were too, and it was really interesting. The love interest I absolutely loved. The ending of this broke me. I can't say why it broke me because that would be a spoiler, but the reason, the ending of this broke me, and I can't wait for the sequel for this book to come out. And I thought the way that Renee Ahdieh introduced the vampires, or the idea of a slightly paranormal people, was really realistic based on our main character. Our main character is a human. She comes from France. She's not aware of the life in New Orleans. She kind of is learning that there's a dark underdepth to it, but she's not fully aware of what everyone is. That what she has done by making this less about all of the paranormal side is she has left more room for the sequel, The Damned, when it comes out, to answer those questions, to talk more about the paranormal, to develop more relationships, to get more understanding of them, and also our main character Celine, who is really funny, and I was really connected to her. And next up I have the full Folk of Air series by Holly Black. Now, I read all of these books this month. I was really shocked actually that I managed to get all 3 of these read. The Cruel Prince in my possession already, which was the first book. I gave this one 4 stars. I wish that I could give them a 4.5-star rating, but I really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was really well written actually. Again, our main character Jude, was really witty and quite funny, but also very hard-headed and stubborn, and it was really she was a very interesting and mysterious main character to follow, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, as well as her difficulties with being human in the land of fairy and how fairies just don't appreciate their presence in their world. I really enjoyed the whole series actually. I'm giving the series as a whole, I feel like it's a 5-star series, but each book individually is going to be 4 stars for me. I know a lot of people's favourite books are the first 2 books, and a lot of people were quite disappointed with the last book, The Queen of Nothing. But for me personally, I think my favourite book out of the whole series is going to be the second book. And that's just because I felt like a lot of stuff went on in here. We saw a development in the relationship. The ending of this book shocked me as well. So I love being shocked in a book. I think it's really nice when you can't see where the plot is going and something happens that you don't expect to happen. I thought all the plots were well developed, and all the mini climaxes in this book were really well developed as well. She did a really good job at building the mini climaxes throughout both these first 2 books, and making sure to explore all the roots between things and explain to us Jude's thoughts and how she is feeling with things. Then The Queen of Nothing, I actually really enjoyed this book. I don't think there was anything really wrong with this book. Like I said, I'm giving it 4 stars, just like the other 2 books in the series. The one thing that I do wish that she did though, I felt like in the mini climaxes, she didn't develop the idea enough. She didn't give enough of the thought process in. I felt like this was a really short last book to the series. I would have liked to see at least another 100 to 150 pages in here to explain more of those mini climaxes. But it is an amazing series and I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are a fan of fairy. I read another 2 books this month that weren't on my TBR, and the reason for this is actually because I rediscovered my library and I redid my library card. So I've got a new library card and I went to the library and I picked out some books to read. If you've been following my reading vlogs, you will know that I did this, and you would have seen all of the books that I picked up from the library. One of those books that I've returned because I've decided that I'm just not going to get around to it, especially with the books that I want to read in March, because I want to participate in a read along, which you guys will hear about in my March TBR, but I want to participate in a read along. I picked up the first book in the Earth End series by Gillian Anderson and Jeff Robin, and that was The Vision of Fire, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think I read this in 2 days whilst I was waiting for The Wicked King book to get delivered by Amazon to me, and I was actually reading these 2 together next to each other. But this was just really intriguing. This is again, it's about a psychiatrist, Caitlin, and we follow her as she struggles to help these people who are experiencing out of world realities in their head. Basically they are experiencing stuff from history, and things that happen in that history happen to them in real life because there's different things going on. It's just really interesting. So they see stuff that the psychologist can't see necessarily. It's very important to read the prologues in each of these books, because these prologues link to the main, link to the third perspective of the book, and it's really important that you read those prologues. For me, sometimes in a book I will skip the prologue because I don't want to know what happens in the story, but these prologues don't ruin anything that's going to happen in the story. They give you context. It's really good. And so I guess that you guys can guess what my second book of this month that I read as well that was not on my TBR, and that is A Dream of Ice by Gillian Anderson and Jeff Robin, which is the second book in the Earth End saga. And I'm thoroughly enjoying this so far. As you can see, my bookmark is still in it. I've just got halfway through today, but I've still got 4 days of the month left. Filming this quite early because I need to return the first book in the series to the library. It's due back on the 3rd of March, and plus I need time to edit this video and plan in when I'm going to have time to upload it. I'm really enjoying this book. Again, this second book is really good. Again, for this second book, if you move on with the series, make sure you read the prologue. The prologue links to stuff that goes on into the book. I just love this book. I, again, have had 1 day of reading for this and I'm already halfway through the book, so it's probably going to be finished tomorrow. I read 8 books this month, which is absolutely amazing for me. I also had to up my Goodreads reading challenge to 60 books from 40 books because I was getting there. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here and would like to see more videos from me, and I'll catch you guys all in my next one. Bye!